business owner, you're not going to feel like doing what you're supposed to do. Every day as a business owner, you won't be encouraged. Every day, even working on your job, growing a business, you're not going to be encouraged. Every day, you won't believe that it's going to work out. Every day, you won't feel grateful to even be in the position that you're in. And so, if you've ever been on that list, this conversation today is for you. By all means, as you guys are coming into the room, put your questions in the chat, your comments in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, by all means, go ahead and throw your comments in the comment section and we'll make sure we get to them next week. With all that being said, P, talk to me, bro. What's happening?
Man, another Thursday. I'm just happy to be here because I know, especially like our off the phone conversations. I just know that today is going to be even more impactful to help me just stay focused. Realign, and not even physically. It's really mentally and emotionally. So I'm really excited for this conversation today to see um, to see how the Lord leads you. If I'm being honest. So yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So a little bit of backdrop, I guess, for the audience is me and P were talking offline, and I essentially, I just told him from an observation, right, as his mentor, as his friend, that I felt like he didn't seem to have a lot of joy about much, right? That everything, there was a sense of heaviness in all of what he had to do, whether it be at work, for his business, personal life, all the things. And I was able to identify it because until 3 years ago, that was like the soundtrack of my life. And I just assumed, well, bro, you the first millionaire in your family, you the first one doing all of this stuff that you've been able to accomplish. Heavy is the head that wear the crown, right? That we start buying into these colloquialisms of society and normalizing things like apathy and dejection and disinterest and all these things that I later figured out was spiritual warfare and stemming from a lack of gratitude, right? God will not continue to bless you if you're not already accounting for the current blessings. And a lot of time we end up in a situation where we're miscounting or discounting the current blessings because we're not seeing them properly because one, we're looking over here in this other direction at what we don't have instead of focusing on what we do, or because we're focused on the harvest instead of the next seed that we need to sow. And it's a lot of different scripture and all of that to get into all that. But if you're there, right, if you are in that position, I want to tell you that there's hope. But God ain't going to do that part for you, though. He will grace you to do it for yourself. I remember being in my prayer closet complaining almost every day, right? That's complaining and praying at the same time, complaining. And He would hear me, certainly, right? There were times where I thought he wouldn't. There were times where I was mad at him. There were times, like it was, like I said, it was like having a record on a loop. It would be this cycle. I feel good. I feel bad. I'm mad. It's just constantly on repeat. And finally, something broke that cycle, right? I won't get into all the backstory because it'll take too long. But long story short, someone in my sphere of influence was talking to me one day. This happened to come up, and they told me that they struggle with it. They told me how they got on the other side of it. And that's when I really understood what spiritual warfare was. It ain't this mystical thing that, the church can sometimes make it out to be. The reality is you got an adversary, and the more that you lean into what you're supposed to be doing with your life, the more that opposition feels stronger. And if you're not careful, he'll plant some seeds and he not even messing with you no more. He letting you mess with yourself now. And that's what it was for me. It was the fact that there was these lies planted that heavy is the head that wears the crown, that I must just don't have joy like everybody else because I got a bigger assignment than everybody else. That, you know, this just my life. I'm a business owner. I got to put out fires. I got to deal with this. I got to deal with that. And yeah, maybe just maybe a couple times a year if I go on vacation that I had a semblance of feeling light and be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor. When the scripture is very explicit in saying every day rejoice. Every day, not conditionally, not if you feel like it, not every day rejoice, which is indicative of the fact that every day, if we're not experiencing joy, then there's something we're not doing right. Not something God ain't doing right, something we're not doing right. And again, for me, it was subtle, but it actually had taken control of my life. I lived almost like a decade, a decade in that state of mind, And now I'm one when I feel that, like 3 days ago, I felt it coming on, and I immediately knew what to do. There's certain scriptures that I pray over myself when that happens, and then I start focusing on what's great about my life, down to the little things. Going to the gym this morning, having time to do my pre-workout before my actual workout, and then my post in the sauna. I mean, in the steam room, right? It's always something we could take from every single day and be grateful for. And I promise you, as our heart posture changes and we start to express that gratitude, God honors that. Then He will help pull you out the pit. But He ain't gonna pull you out the pit just because you complaining to Him every day. That's not because He know the very nature of you having breath in your lungs and can feel and touch and smell and listen and see. He like, you tripping. You like you're trip. You got clean water to drink. You tripping. You got running water. You got light. You got a vehicle outside. You can sit down and have a meal. Not have to be face down and eating your meal from the ground like a dog, like they do in some countries. That you got things like washing machines and dish detergent and, by the way, clothes to wear. More than one option. You can groom yourself and bathe yourself, and it's it's a litany of things that, again, because we've had them for so long by God's grace, that we just look at them like they on autopilot. And they are, so as long as we recognize them. Rich and wealthy people end up homeless. So what happened for me was that regardless of how much I accomplished in life, whether it was $1 million years, whether it was buying apartment buildings, whether it was whatever it was that I was accomplishing, I always came back to this place of, but there's so much more I can be doing. I was lacking the contentment of the accomplishments. And I thought that it was just healthy motivation, that it was healthy ambition, but it was actually unhealthy ambition and unhealthy motivation. The reality was is I didn't have contentment and gratitude for the things that I was accomplishing. And so nothing was ever good enough, which was robbing me of my joy every single day. In order to have happiness, something needs to be happening. In order to have joy, that just means that you got a relationship with the one that created you. And here's the reality. Any I have a rule, and I've had this rule for 3 years. I have bad moments, but I no longer have bad days. And in 3 years, I probably had 3 bad days. As opposed to, I used to have bad weeks. I used to have bad months. As a result of not having this whole thing figured out. Now, it don't matter. By the time I get off of here, I can check my email and it'd be another bomb that went off. But truth is, in that moment, I'm like, I feel what everybody else feel, and then after that, I go find something else to be grateful about, bro. Because I refuse to let myself be miserable like that. Now that I've figured out I don't have to be that way, there's no way I'm going to allow myself to be like that.
That's good. That's good. And even um one thing that I realized that I've done, I've diminished the environments that I was raised in, because growing up it was always like, do more. That's not enough. Mind you, I'm doing things I never dreamt or thought of doing or accomplishing, but it was always like, where's the harvest? Where's the harvest? Like, we don't see nothing happening, so nothing's happening. So that's where I realized, like, where my mind goes to more than anything, to where it's like the harvest isn't there yet. And like you were saying, you were like, yo, like, you have tons of seeds to plant. Um, but growing up has just been, where like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you doing more? Why didn't you start this? Okay, you're not getting harvest here. How about you pivot? So I'm so used to trying to pivot prematurely instead of being consistent and content, and being grateful for where I'm at or what I have to steward, because I was always told, oh, pivot. Maybe you'll find a quicker harvest here, or pivot. Maybe harvest will come from that, whether it be money, financial stability, other opportunities, all the things of that nature. So, and it was never like, right where you are is good. What you've done is great. Like, you're doing what you got to do. So I was just doing a lot of reflecting on, like, where does this constant, like, mindset come from of, you got to do more, or you got to perform, or something has to give, like. And I just realized that's how I was raised. Like, since I wasn't making money from basketball, it was always like, keep playing basketball until you make money, like. And, or why aren't you D1, or why aren't you in the NBA, or all these other things. And I just realized, like, oh, I've just been conditioned to just not be grateful for where I'm at, and always look for a harvest. And until I get the harvest, then I'll be grateful. But there's even some things that I've harvested in that I still wasn't grateful for, because I was like, dang, like, this harvest ain't big enough, you know. Even right now, I was having this private conversation with God. I was like, I'm making more money. I have the clothes, as I have the car, I have the job. I was like, and those things still, I'm like, I'm not grateful. Like, I was just being honest. I'm like, yo, like, I have all the things that I want. Like, there's nothing right now that I could go grab some more clothes and sneakers if I wanted to right now, but that's not what's bringing me joy. But I'm not even grateful that I'm allowed to do that. It's just been, we need more. We need more. I need more. I need more. So I'm grateful that you even were able to just assess that, because it's like, it's honestly annoying, constantly, just this peak. It's like a I don't know what the gram is, but it just seems like I'm doing this on
Mm,
the gram. There's
mm,
never just a it's just always like a heartbeat monitor or something like that. That's what it feels like. Like, there's just spikes of happiness instead of a life. I mean, yeah, spikes of happiness instead of a lifestyle of joy.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, like, I'm tired of just experiencing spikes, like, because they'll go away in 5 minutes, 30 minutes. A day I'll be excited I get paid, but after the payday hit, I'm back to being miserable about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So I'm grateful that we even having this conversation, because I've realized how many things it is affecting. And then I'm getting mad at God for not promoting me or elevating me. He's like, bro, you don't even like where you're at now. I could bring you to the next level and you still not gonna like where you at. So it's like, nothing's gonna change, but just what you're not grateful for in that next level. So I'm grateful that we having this conversation, because I'm like, I know I need it. Like, I'm in Bible study, like, yo, like, God always wants to hear his praises, and I'm always like, yeah, nah, like, just complaining. Like you said, I'm complaining and praying at the same time. But yesterday was different, because I was like, I need you to get me out of this mindset, because I'm like, I see it's not working, you know. So yeah,
And ironically, here we are.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you were
yeah,
praying to get you out of this mindset, and then this is what happens today.
yeah,
And God and His providence has this unique way about putting people in our lives that are ahead of us in a specific area, so that they can show us how to get on the other side, right? It's like he told Peter when he said, when you get on the other side, go back and strengthen your brethren. When he told him the enemy was trying to sift him like wheat. And so I'm just grateful to be a vessel. I hated that season of my life because I couldn't figure out how to crack the code. And to your point, it was all these spikes. And now it's just joy. And joy ain't jovial all the time. It's just this level of peace and contentment. And to where I just feel good for no reason in particular, right? And
Yeah.
that's where you want to be. You just feel good for no reason in particular because you're just grateful, bro. Like you just great. It's for all reasons aforementioned. But I'm glad you realize, and I appreciate your honesty because you said what most won't say. Like I'm just not grateful. People won't admit to that, but it is the truth, and that's where it starts with fixing this problem, is admitting because that's where I was at. I'm like, nah, I'm really not grateful, and I know I didn't do all this on my own, but I'm still not grateful.
Right.
That's where I was at. That's just the raw truth of it,
Right.
and it was because the enemy had manipulated things in my life to where I believed them to be true. And you can't, this feeling that you got, you can't out earn that. You can't outperform that. You can't
Yeah.
outproduce that. The only way you get on the other side of that is submit to the Lord, resist the enemy, and he will flee. That's the first thing. And then secondly, um, by having gratitude every day. Every day. And by the way, it will feel mechanical initially because you're a human being. So even saying I'm grateful for this, I'm great. Initially, there won't be a heart head connection, right? You'll be saying the right things, but maybe not feeling them introspectively. But eventually, you will though, because there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So
Right.
eventually, if I keep saying these things, they become true in my life.
100%. And it's funny because like I was about to do Bible study last night, and I was just like, nah. I was like, me and God gotta have a conversation before I even do this Bible study the way I've been doing it, because I've been walking through the Book of Psalms right now for my Bible studies, and I was like, pause. I was like, I'm not gonna keep reading this Bible, and when I leave, my mindset is still miserable. Like I'm not
Hmm.
being transformed. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not doing that. I was like, I'm not gonna read another chapter of this Bible. My mindset continues to remain this way. Like I was like, because I'm not trying to read to finish. Because I felt that mindset trying to like just take over. Like, yeah, just read to finish, read to finish. And I'm in my head like, bro, I'm gonna have to keep reading the Bible for the rest of my life. So I sat down and I was like, listen, I was like, it says to delight in the law of the Lord. Everything that I'll do will prosper. He'll be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. I'm like, I'm not delighting. I was like, I'm not. I was like, I'm not going to sit here and read another chapter just for me to say I read it, but for nothing to be transformed and changed. And that's when I just started talking about my mindset. I started to see, like, okay, like, this is how I'm truly thinking. And I would realize the fact, since I wasn't grateful or content or just in a state of gratitude, I would manipulate others to experience it.
Mm.
So I try to use them to experience something that I'm not experiencing. And I was even telling her, I'm like, yo, I've seen how manipulative I've became, not even just in this season, but just how I was raised. I would have to manipulate people because I'm like, yo, like there's no joy in me going to church and the one that I was raised in. I'm seeing everybody complain, everybody's petty, everybody's manipulative, saying blessed and highly favored and then gossiping. So then I just became a manipulative person. And I was just seeing it like as I was just addressing my mindset and my actions. I'm like, yo, like I've manipulated people because of things that I'm not experiencing, and then I put that on them, and then now I'm using them or just articulating myself in a way that'll make them want to give me what I want. And then when I don't give them what they want, it's over with. So then I go to the next person. And I was like, Lord, I'm not doing that no more. Like I'm tired of being tired. Like that's literally where I was at mentally, and it's not even. But I'm like, when it happens mentally, I'm just starting to see the fruit physically, and I'm just like, I just don't want to live that way anymore. Like like last night, I was just like, yo, I'm tired of this mindset of just always being in a state of this isn't enough, or why don't I have this yet, or did it. I'm just in my head like, yo, how long am I gonna do this for? Because I'm like, I'm making progress. Like I said, I did not have this job and position that I did last year. I wasn't in 2024. I wasn't speaking to Brian. 2025 going into 2026, I am speaking to. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, because I was even telling I was telling God, I was like, because I was just talking about like different like calibers of people. I'm like, you can bring me in front of Brian, you could bring me in front of Darius. I'm like, and I get to experience Jesus every day, and he's the highest caliber of a person in the world, and I'm still not grateful. So I'm like, at this point, it's not a matter of people; it's my heart posture.
Yeah.
So I was like, because if I'm able to talk to God and able to talk to Jesus and all the things, I'm just like, it's really my heart posture. So I was just like, I'm tired of living this way, because I'm just like, I almost feel sick in my soul. Like it's not something where I'm like, I feel sick physically. I'm like, yo, I feel like I'm sick spiritually with this mindset. And I'm like, I want to get out of this, because I'm just like, I'll feel dejected, and I'm realizing like how you were like to focus on, the seed that I have to plant now, even with working out. Like I have to work out after work, and I'm sitting there for a good 5 minutes just convincing myself to go work out instead of being grateful that I get to work out, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, it's and I know this right, it's a heavy conversation for but it's a necessary one because it's too many people that actually say that they're grateful but really living in ingratitude. They say all the right things.
Right.
How you doing? Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Right? And I'm not saying don't speak that, but really live that too though. Cuz you suffering silently. You got more
100%.
bills than money and you miserable every day. But outwardly you express that you're not, and we got to be honest at some point. If I wasn't honest with the lady that I was on the call with a couple years ago, then I wouldn't have got the breakthrough that I needed, right? If I'd have just kept, putting on and putting on, like I wouldn't have got the breakthrough that I would have never got the revelation that I needed. So we gotta at some point come to terms with just being honest with where we really at. And that's why I appreciate having this conversation today, because until you do that, yeah, we could sit here and talk about how you can make, six figures in a day. We could talk about how to make seven figures in a year. We could talk about all those things. But I'm gonna tell you, you will get there and be more miserable than you thought before you got there. Ask me how I know. So if like this right here is one of those situations where if you don't fix it and get your arms around it, life gonna be hell. Life will be hell. There'll be nothing exciting about getting up in the morning. There'll be nothing that will give you the idea of having joy at any point throughout the day. You almost despise everything on your to-do list. You almost feel like even if I do this, it ain't gonna change nothing. Like everything about your disposition just becomes negative, which means that everything about your life also becomes negative.
It's good.
It's a lot of people right now that think they hate their job, but it's not that you hate your job. You hate the fact that you broke after you get done working.
Mm.
The problem is not your job. The problem is that you've created a lifestyle that even after you go slave and give your life away, that the money that they give you is still not enough to cover the lifestyle that you created. So by virtue of that, you look at the job as the bad guy when it's your choices that's the bad guy. If you were able to go to work 40, 50 hours, collect a check for $6,500 and be able to stack 3 grand of that every month, oh, you feel totally different about work. Work would be the best thing to happen in your life. Every 2 weeks, that'd be the best thing happening in your life. But because you get 6,500 and you already negative 800 before you even get started, that's why you hate it. So it's like then now we don't see the job as a blessing no more. It's only a burden. When it's like, no, you created circumstances in a situation for yourself that has now downplayed the very thing that God gave you, which is part of the enemy plan to keep us in debt, oppressed, and all the things so that we cannot see the blessing in anything that we do. But having joy is a choice. And every day you got to choose it. And the catalyst to getting it is gratitude.
That's good. And it's funny because I remember one day my sister was like, the biggest enemy of praise is pride. And I always tell God, like, yeah, my name is praise. That's what I need to be doing. But it's like I haven't adopted the mindset of that and to be doing it. Like I say that, and one thing that I've realized more and more is the difference between my proclaimed values, my proclaimed mindset, my all the things that I proclaim that is who I am versus when life gets in the thick of it, what do I look like? Like what do I think then? What do I run to then? And I realized like my lack of gratitude, my lack of contentment, my lack of peace in my situation will make me run back into cycles or things that God has already set me free from. Because I'm like, okay, there's nothing here, so I gotta escape here. When I don't need to escape anything, like I'm fine exactly where I'm at, but then it'll make me revert back to a sin or hold on to a friend longer than I should. That was probably one of my biggest issues. I would hold on to friends I know I need to let go, but I'm like, okay, I don't feel no gratitude here, so let me go find gratitude in Egypt. So then it's just, okay, God, now get me out of Egypt. I get out. I'm like, okay, there's nothing here. Go back to Egypt. And it was just a constant back and forth between I'm trying to find gratitude in Egypt. Now get me out of Egypt. Get it. And it was so back and forth. So now I'm like, okay, God, like this, that's why this conversation is like crucial for me because um I think like you said, it's gonna change everything because it went from like I have to do this to like I get to do this. Like because I don't he doesn't owe me anything. He's not he could take my ability to walk right now. Like and then what? You know what I'm saying? And I remember the other night I didn't want to do cardio. And God was like, he was like, you would be grateful. He was like, you would be dreaming of doing cardio if I took your ability to walk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I never even thought about it that way. I was just like, oh snap. He's like, yeah. So what you're dreading is other people's dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really sink in because I'm like, yeah, because I have the ability still, you know? And then growing up in the church that I grew up in, everybody still was praying to God, screaming, read the Bible, all these different things, and nothing was changing or happening. So I'm in my head like, oh, so this is how God operates. These people could do whatever they want, come back in here on Sunday, act like the worst person Monday through Saturday. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do the same thing. Um, until I was like, okay, I need to like the God that I've seen is not the God that is truly sitting on the throne. So that's why like now I'm like, okay, who are you truly? So when he said that, it didn't really sink in. So then this conversation today is like double confirmation of, oh, what I said I meant. Like you don't think that this is nothing crazy to do. I'm doing the Stairmaster. I'm like, bro, I don't like doing the Stairmaster. He's like, man, you lucky you could do the Stairmaster. I see people in there, they come in on wheelchairs and they in the gym still, not doing no cardio, just straight upper body. And I'm just like, wow, like I couldn't even imagine. So this conversation is crucial for me because I've been raised in a complaining environment. I'll clean the house, it's not good enough. I'll wear clothes, it's not good enough. I get a new job, it's not good. Like nothing was ever good enough in my life. So I don't think towards the people that I was raised around. So I don't think anything is ever good enough, when the opportunity to speak to you is far more greater than everything that I would say I have right now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not the money that makes me feel good. It's the fact that I can have this conversation with you and you shed light on my blind spots. That I'm like, I thank God for that. Like work is gonna be work in and out of itself. And yes, I thank God for the job, but I'm like, the ability to have this conversation and to not hide I think that's greater than anything because I'm so used to hiding when moments happen like this to be like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm blessed and highly favored. And it's like my tone would change, but my heart wouldn't. My soul would remain the same. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's you know, I always say in a business setting, you can't get it right if you understand it wrong. That's applicable in even this situation, right? It's applicable in all different areas of our life. You can't get it right if you understand it wrong. And you know, I mean, bro, not feeling like going to the gym, not feeling like putting your body under duress, not feeling that's that's natural, right? This is why the Bible talks about discipline. No discipline feels good in the moment, right? But it produces a harvest of righteousness and perseverance. So it's not that God, I mean, that's why Jesus came here in the flesh to have a human experience so that he can empathize with the fact that we have human experiences. But, you know, so not feeling like being, not feeling encouraged to go work out, I don't believe is a function of ingratitude, right? It's just a function that I don't feel like working out, but my discipline says I do it anyway. You know, it's you bring something up that's interesting. I've never been able to find gratitude by watching somebody else who don't have what I got. Cause I can't feel their circumstances. Now I know that there are people that can like go there where they like, oh my heart breaks because I can't feel their circumstances. Right? I can I can I can think about if I were in a wheelchair, what that would do to me mentally. I could think about how that would impact my life in so many different ways. Like I could think about and consider those things, but I'm not grateful that I can walk because I see somebody in a wheelchair. I'm grateful that I can walk because I'm grateful that I can walk. Now, again, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying for me, right? Like for me, I have to go inward to find gratitude. It's never from an external thing.
Mm.
And I'm careful of that because I don't want to get it I don't want to get into a situation where somebody's suffering from some tragedy and I say thank God that wasn't me. What makes me so special that it wasn't me? So that's why I try to find gratitude and joy from within and not external because if I'm comparing my situation to somebody else's, well, God allowed that to be true in their life for some reason or another. And if I think that I'm just so special that I'm not in a situation, but you don't know what he's doing through their situation, why he allowed that to be true in their situation. So that's why I just try to do the work myself and go inside out because I don't want him to think, oh, you thought that you were just special and that they're not. That's why that's their situation. Well, I can show you that no, you can still be special and still deal with this.
It's good.
So that's the danger of being like, oh, thank God that ain't me. What that but that's them though. You're not better than them. The reality is for everything that we have is because for everything that he's purposed us to do. So if I got all of my limbs and faculties in good state of mind and can taste and hear and all these things, then based on where I am in process in his process in my life, then it must be deemed for me to be able to have all these things right now
Yeah.
for what it is that he needs to accomplish through me.
Yeah.
Because he also knows what we need to endure, what's going to be too much. Like he knows just the right amount of things in adversity to use to refine us, to get us to a point, to get us to wherever He's trying to get us to. There's certain things that you see happen to certain people, and you like, how in the world do they have that kind of mindset, posture, mentality about anything? And they've been graced to do that. You know what I mean? Whereas there's certain things that I know I'd be a wreck, and he know that,
Mm.
which is why his yoke is easy and his burden is light.
It's good. And I was just looking at some Bible verses of, you know, thanks. And I know one of them is like, in everything give thanks. And then another one that stuck to me is enter into his gates with thanksgiving. Um, and I just think of the word thanksgiving. I'm like, what God gave me is what I should be thankful for. But the amount of times that I do that, it's like, God, bro, today, like I'm already thinking of like the prayer just be like, all right, I already know what's gonna happen today. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a prayer of complaining at that point. Like it's like give me the stamina to endure the bad that's about to happen instead of thanking him for the good that's already happened.
Facts.
Um, and I realized how often I've prayed that prayer, like Lord, like I already know today gonna be a long day. Just give me the strength, give me the grace. I'm like that's not how I should be praying. I should be like, God, I thank you, because I realized a lot of my prayer was just proclaimed prayer. It wasn't felt prayer, things that I was actually. It's just like, God, like I just thank you for waking me up this morning. I'm like, am I really thankful for him waking me up this morning? Like I had to ask myself that question last night. Like, are you really thankful for these things, or do you just say these things because you think God is pleased because they just leave your lips, as if He doesn't know your heart posture? So I was like, God, like there be times where I be waking up when I just be like, here we are again. Like I ain't die. Like that's how I be thinking. So I'm just like I really had to just pivot and be like, because now I realize how much of my prayers were lacking the nitty gritty, like honesty. Like it'd be honest, but it's not like the depths of my honesty. It's just like, Lord, like today I was angry. But I'm not talking about the why of me being angry. I'm just letting him know the emotion. Um, and I realized I had to go deeper than that. Like I have to go even deeper. So I was like, Lord, like I just be telling you I'm thankful, but this is not something that I'm genuinely thankful for. So even you talking about how you lived you're living a lifestyle of joy. I'm like, I don't hear heaviness in your voice. I don't. I rarely ever do. I can't recall the time that I do. There's probably one time where I was like, this made me heavy. And the next time I heard you, was, you good. Me though? I feel like every time I talk is heavy.
Yeah, no, for real. That's
I'm
what. That's
like,
why
bro,
I recognize it.
bro.
And for me, I'm never the guy that says something the first time I observe something. I'm not even the guy to say something like in business, in relationships. If I come and address something with you, it's because I've taken the time to sit back and collect all this data.
Mm,
I'm never having some knee jerk reaction. I'm never looking at aberrations and I'm never looking at one offs. I'm looking at a totality of an extended period of time of watching behavior.
mm,
By the time I say something, I know it's an issue. And so it's been an observation for some time, and I'm glad we're
yeah.
having this conversation, bro, because I'm telling you, nothing else will make sense in your life until you figure this part out.
Mm,
And it start with the raw honesty that you're talking about. And then it moves beyond that to a place of, that's why scripture tell us take every thought captive that's not of him, that's not good,
right. It's good.
right? That's why scripture tell us to do not conform with the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind daily.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, scripture tells us that if we submit to God and resist the enemy, he will flee. to let us know we do have refuge, that when we're being attacked with these thoughts and these things that are not of him, that we need to submit to him. We need to bring that to him and trust that his word is true. Submit to him, resist the enemy, and he will flee. How do you resist the enemy? By not leaning into all that stuff that you're thinking, by speaking the opposite of that. That you are a tree planted by the river whose leaves produce fruit in every season. Even if you don't believe it, you got to speak against it until you start to believe it.
Mm, that's good. That's good. And I would realize, like, and you talked a little bit about this when we were off the phone. But I realized in learning how to, like, because I know I want to be a communicator and all the things, as I've grown to learn different ways of communicating, I would just articulate the same problem in a different way. So then you're answering the question the same way you did the last 5 times, and now you're answering it in a different way because I'm asking it in a different way. But
Mm-hmm.
I've asked this question 5 times previously, and you're just like, okay, like I'm gonna just give him another answer in another way because I'm just sitting here like, yo, he keeps like after the conversation be over, I'm like, he just corrected me on what he's corrected me on previously. But I'm just like, since I'm not implementing right, I'm like, I'm just going about it. I'm like, okay, now I'm experiencing this. It's just a symptom of the root,
Yeah.
of the root sickness. So I was just like, yo, like my lack of ingratitude and contentment and where I'm at would just make me talk about all the branches and not the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And you like, no, we need to deal with the trunk. And I'm like, I'm like, but yeah, there's still this branch. And you're like, all right, whenever you're ready to talk about the trunk, then we'll deal with that. Um, and I just appreciate your patience in that area because I'm just like, bro, like there. And I thank God that like I haven't been putting pressure on myself because before it'd be a pressure thing. Like if I don't do this in this time, and this is gonna happen. No. So I'm not there anymore. But just the patience that you've had, like I genuinely appreciate it though. Because I'm like I'm trying to get it right. So I'm just like, but the fact that it's just been, this reoccurring thing that you were like, all right, let me just step back and observe, because there'd be conversations, and you would bring it up like, yo, like I don't really think you enjoying this right now, and I'm like, I can't hide and say that I am because you already hear it in my voice. So me saying that I am would be me lying, you know. And that's something that I never want to do is lie about where I'm at. Like even this morning when you like, yo, P, how you feeling? I'm in my head already like, man, I'm like today's the day. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just appreciate your patience in that. Because it does mean a lot just being able for you to be patient, sit back and observe. And you actually took the time to collect data instead of just, like you said, having a knee-jerk reaction. So I genuinely do appreciate that. Because I'm
Yeah.
not used to people being patient. They're usually impatient and then complaining. So I'm trying to work on their time frame so they can stop complaining, and then all my work is just rushed and I just feel pressured and I'm not enjoying anything. So I just appreciate that. If I'm being honest,
Yeah,
is
we
very good for
gotta,
me to.
and that's just a reminder for everybody watching this is that when you've been given grace, my wife has patience with me that I only had the capacity to understand, you know. And so for that reason, if I identify that somebody else is going through that similar struggle, I have to extend that kind of grace as it was extended to me, and that kind of patience, and not of my own, right? That's a fruit of the spirit that we
Yeah.
get from being in relationship with Christ. He can't send you out there to go out in the world and make more disciples if he's not equipping you with a power far beyond your own, because my flesh wouldn't be able to sustain that. It ain't set up that way. It's too selfish for that. It'd be like, man, come on, man, just shake that off, man. We got to get focused. That's what the flesh say, right? But bro, come on, bro. What you serious? Like, why you so down, bro? You got this, you got that, you got that. Man, come on, man, you good. That's what most people would do. Or they'd be like, man, I'm tired of talking to P, man. Every time I talk to P, it's always something heavy, it's always something deep, it's always like, man, I don't even like that's what people around you would do. So then you forced to put on some type of costume and try to act like that's not what it is, but you still miserable. And you're not getting any joy out of performing for them. So the best thing you could do is be and pray and thank God that you got people around you that love you enough, that care for you enough to have the patience with you and to not leave you in the place that they found you. My wife, when I was going through my season, she didn't even have language for what I was dealing with. She couldn't really understand it. Um, Neither could I. But once I figured it out, I broke it all down to her and it made all the sense in the world. And now I know God has allowed me to go through that. So like he told Peter, when you get on the other side, go back and strengthen your brother. It's nothing happened to us. It happens for us so that he can do something through us later. Bro, I got a whole folder of spiritual warfare uh teachings, um, like the armor of God. I got trainings on the armor of God with each element, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the sword of the spirit, uh, the shodding your feet with the gospel. Like every piece of armor that these Roman soldiers used to wear, there's a meaning behind each piece of it that you utilize within spiritual warfare. And it's very practical, bro. I thought it was this mystical, whimsical concept. It's very practical in how you utilize it. I got a whole folder in my phone that's just full of all this content because now when I see it in others, I can equip them with the same equipment that got me out.
Mm, that's good.
So it's not woe is me. It's thank God that he didn't, thank God that he thought enough of me to allow me the time to figure it out. Cause he could have just pulled me out. And there was moments where I get to a breaking point and he'll give me a reprieve, but I'll be right back in it. Shortly, a couple days later, I'll be right back in it. So his mercy was such that he would give me a reprieve, but his love was such that you need to figure this out. Because if I pull you out, you ain't gonna figure it out. And then you can't go strengthen others if you never got on the other side.
Mm,
And so I went from being pissed off at him to very grateful for him because I get it now. If you got a bully at school and your mama, your daddy keep coming up there to get the bully off your bumper, that may have protected you from the fight or being picked on, but you didn't truly win, though. You still going to school scared every day. The only way you get on the other side is when you deal with that bully.
that's good. That's
And
good.
that's what warfare is dealing with the bully. Using the armor of God that he gave us. But if you don't, you can't get it right if you understand it wrong. If the way it's been preached sound like some costume that you put on, then you confused. You don't know. So, um, folks, we know that this was definitely a different conversation for sure, but it was necessary. And my prayer before this call was that, and our prayer before this call was that this was the unlock for somebody. I don't care if it was one person, that this was an unlock for somebody to really evaluate, feel seen, feel heard, feel loved, and to know you're not crazy. to know that while, yes, you may feel guilty for feeling the way that you feel, that is real though. And you can't compare what everybody else say and do externally to really evaluate their heart posture. They may be miserable. It just don't look like it. But if you have been miserable, I'm telling you, you do not have to live like that. You do not have to live like that. But you do have to equip yourself properly. So, any final thoughts, P, before we wrap?
Man, um, yeah, my last final thought is just one, like I said, I appreciate this conversation. Um, but two, it be conversations like this that are the most liberating. You know, I think I've told you this multiple times. It's not a matter of new strategy. It's a matter of implementing the one that I first got. Um, and I think those was one of these conversations because it's like now after this, it's not a new strategy of how to get out of this. It's implementing being grateful, you know, expressing gratitude, saying it until I believe it. Because at one point I didn't believe the negativity that I heard when I was first growing up until I kept hearing it, and then ended up believing it. So, yeah, I appreciate it because this was super liberating. I already feel lighter because now I'm thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for, and then that's what puts a smile on my face because I'm like, yeah, I do make music and I do get to sit at the feet of B, and like I do got a car, you know. So I already feel lighter. So I just appreciate you for this conversation, my man.
For sure, for sure. And by the way, there was some confusion with the email this morning. I think it went out saying that we were starting at 11 when really it was supposed to have been 10. I don't know. I don't know why it happened, how it happened. But if you get on here at 11, sorry, it's over. But you can go back and rewatch it and highly recommend that you do and leave your comments, your questions, and we will get to them next week. All right. God bless. We see